Hi, you're gorgeous, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm calling it quarantine chic. Like, I feel like I look like a 12-year-old again.
You're giving me like Black Hermione vibes. So it's like
Black Hermione. I can work with that.
Oh my God.
Self-quarantining.
And a quarantine order.
Quarantined in their...
Held in quarantine.
Quarantine.
The quarantine in place.
Quarantine for the required 14 days.
Hey, what's up, people? We are back once again with another fresh episode of Quarantine Talks. This is me, JC, your friendly neighborhood Negro, and today I got on my show the lovely, bubbly culinary creator of Lime Hut, London, Afiya. Miss Fee, if you're hungry. Not only is she your favorite cook, but she is also co-owner and creator of Coco Financial, a business consultancy geared towards financial literacy and entrepreneurship of women in the UK. We talk about how her Caribbean roots inspired her to start the street food sensation known as Lime Hut, the life-altering food known to the rest of the world as halloumi cheese. Jesus God, it's so good. Life in London during quarantine, traveling abroad, and most interestingly, traveling while Black. And ironically, we talk about how her time spent in the US awakened her eyes to the systemic racism America is known for. Ain't that a bitch? And last but not least, she answers the age-old West Indian debate. Peas and rice or rice and peas? Y'all don't know, man. Like, that goes so hard in the Caribbean West Indian community. Peas and rice or rice and peas. You just gotta, it's a thing. You gotta get into it. Also, guys, this is one of the episodes of the pod that was recorded BF, as I like to say, or before Floyd. So some of the things that we speak about may or may not have already passed. Nonetheless, the content is always fresh. So got an ad coming up and then the show. Let's go. And so once again, ladies and gents, this is me, JC. Welcome to Quarantine Talks. Today I have with me a very special guest from very, very far away, but from one of my favorite places on the entire planet. Miss Afiya, please go ahead, introduce yourself.
Hi, thank you very much for having me on your platform, JC. I am Afiya, but everyone calls me Fee. And I am the founder of Lime Hut, which is a contemporary Caribbean street food brand with a focus on health and well-being. And I am also co-founder of Coco Financial, which is a business consultancy specifically set up to help encourage, empower and educate millennials and the generations below to take control of their personal and business finances.
That's like the best introduction I think anybody has ever done. Like, you just like straight to it. Like, yeah, no, we're gonna get this, and this, so there's no confusion. And my like, I'm gonna put my nickname in it too. You don't have to do that. Like, I love that.
Keeping it a friendly level.
People may have guessed that you are British. And I think we're now coming around to this
Cheerio,
thing.
mate. I'm joking. No,
don't do that. Do not do it. So I think now in America, we have with the popularity of Idris Elba. That's my dad, by the way.
Do you know what's really funny?
What?
My dad looks exactly like Idris Elba, and it's really weird. We go out,
I'll
be at a restaurant, and people will be like, "It's him," and I'll be like, "Dad, you've been spotted again."
There's a picture.
So it's so bad that people come up for his autograph. It's ridiculous.
There's a picture on your Instagram, and I literally had to look twice. I think it's like you and your dad and your granddad, or maybe you, your dad, and your uncle.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yo, is that Idris?"
Honestly, like, everyone says it like all the time. Oh. Like, he always gets spotted. It's so funny.
And
so funny.
So I say that to say, like, Americans have now come around to the thing that there are Black people in other places outside of like Africa and America. So that go America, go Black Americans. We're getting
well done, America.
Thank you. Can't really clap for shit else, much else, but damn, we're doing that. So what part of London do you live in, and where is your business?
Yeah, so I live in central London, although for the current lockdown situation we're finding ourselves in, I'm actually in the countryside, not too far outside of London. That's where my childhood home is. But I live in a place called Angel, which is not too far from King's Cross, which most people will have heard of if they've read or watched the Harry Potter franchise.
Yes.
And my business, the street food business, Lime Hut, is based in Soho, which couldn't get a much more central location. If anyone's ever visited London, it's near Piccadilly. The place with like the big bright lights. It's like the small version of Times Square. And also between Oxford Circus, the huge shopping street. So very, very central. And then Coco Financial, being a business consultancy, is often based, online, but most of our clients are based in London and the Southeast region in the UK.
Okay. Shout out Brixton, Peckham. Those are the two places I go the most. Brixton, Peckham.
Well done. Yeah.
I know I told you a little bit. I've been there a couple times.
Yes,
So, all right, let's jump into Lime Hut. So, with this, I would like to know when you fell in love with food.
Oh, that's such a good question.
I know.
I think it's from day dot. Like, I grew up in a Caribbean household. My mum is from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. My dad is from Jamaica. And the kitchen has been the heart of the home from day one. It's where we sit and eat. It's where we catch up. It's where we dance. Like, it's honestly the heart of the home. And I remember as a kid negotiating chores. Like, I hated doing the washing up. I just hated it. And I just realized I was like, all right at cooking. So I asked my mom if I could cook once a week, like cook the family meal once a week instead of washing up. Which, as a working mother, I think she was like, great.
Sure.
One day I don't have to come home and cook. And then they were really pleasantly surprised that it wasn't just, like chicken dippers and chips. Like, I properly cooked the full-on, like, nutritious, healthy meal that tasted good. And it just became my weekly slot to shine. So, as a kid, I've just always been in the kitchen, always been really curious about food. I was one of those weird kids that would be at restaurants, like, wanting to eat olives when most other kids are like, ugh, why do these grapes, like, taste so weird?
Very true. Like, I just recently started eating olives within, like, the last 5 years, and I'm 32.
Yeah, so. I was just like, I just had a very refined palate from a young age. So food has always been an interest. It's been a central part of just family life and home life. And so to be able to replicate that in some way and share my food. The business started off as a supper club, actually. We weren't originally street food. We just used to pop up in different coffee shops. I'd just go up to the owner and say, are you shut at the weekend? Can I just take over your space and cook some food?
Oh, okay.
Most places said, no, you crazy girl, go away. Eventually, a couple places said, sure. So, yeah, I just kind of hosted pop-up, one-off restaurant takeovers, and the feeling I just got seeing people eating my food and enjoying it was just the start of Lime Hut, really. So, really cool. The food journey has been since childhood.
So how did the restaurant takeovers go into brick and mortar business? Like, what was the process?
So we're not actually a bricks and mortar. Our street food operates out of a street food market. So it's a very got you. Unglamorous life. Yeah. Okay. It's we've got a big van, and I've got this gazebo, and it pops up and retracts. And I don't know if I've not really seen them that much in stateside. I visited the States quite a bit. I feel like you guys tend to have more food trucks. We definitely have food trucks here, yes. But the more popular mode of street food is to have these gazebos. So you'll go down a street and there'll be like 20 or 30 different gazebos, like a green, red, blue, black, and they'll all be individual businesses selling Greek food, Lebanese food, Chinese food, Jamaican, whatever. So that's the model we do, and Lime Hut slots in there. So move went from doing supper clubs to that model. So market.
Is there like so you guys are on that? There's like a street, I think, in Soho where there's like a bunch of different like
markets.
Yeah. Oh, so you guys are there.
Yeah. It's like a whole street of markets. So it's called Berwick Street, and it leads onto Rupert Street, and both streets are just foodie heaven, just like individual market stalls. And I think there's like one or two. There's like a greengrocer and a dairy stall that have been there since like the Victorian days or whatever. Mm-hmm. But everything else is like sexy, exciting food, like experimental. There's an Egyptian falafel stall that my neighbor. Like the quality of food is insane.
It's really good. I love eating when I come to London because I don't eat meat. I'm more pescatarian and plant-based, right? So like when I come there, I can hit up a kebab shop, which for people that don't know what a kebab shop is, it's kind of like a carry-out, but like it's like
kebab shops.
No, hell no. I want to open one here. We'll talk offline. But exactly. You see my page. Like I wish you could see her face. Like she's like, what? So like, I love kebab shops because halloumi wraps are my lifeblood.
You guys don't have halloumi. I know this because. Yes. Sorry to cut you.
No, go.
Because we are a contemporary twist on Caribbean food. Mm-hmm. Our number one item is not jerk chicken, as you might imagine. It's actually jerk halloumi.
Yes. Oh
my god. And it's a hit, to say the least. It's a hit.
Like,
and whenever American tourists go by, they're like, "What's halloumi?"
Exactly.
And I'm like, "Let me change your life, my friend."
Yes, it is like it's a life altering. One of my good friends, she was actually tried to link her with Kadir, but her work schedule was crazy. She works for YouTube, so she was there on business, and she just had some downtime. And I was trying to. I told her, I was like, "Look, if you do nothing else, you need to go to this place called the Kebab Shop, and you need to get a halloumi wrap. It is life altering." And she was like, okay, yeah. I don't know if she had a chance to do it, but I'm like, listen, if nothing else, I eat halloumi. If I'm in London for 10 days, I eat halloumi for like 4 or 5 days straight. Like I have it so much because
I have so much halloumi in my fridge. Like it's just so good.
It's so good. We have it here, but it is very, very hard to find and it doesn't taste the same.
So I've done a bit of research in this because I was like, why is it everyone that asks us what halloumi is American? Mm-hmm. I think you guys have strict laws about pasteurized or unpasteurized dairy. And so, yeah, but you have cheese in a tube. So
listen, less about health, more about money. So I feel like there's some thing probably with like the halloumi cheese industry. They haven't paid or greased the right hands to be inside of America. And I'm happy because I don't feel like if halloumi here is not going to be halloumi there. And it's something that I always look forward to. Like, I know I'm going to London. I know I need to hit a kebab shop and I know I need halloumi. Like, this is just things that I know. Halloumi and chips, AKA fries, not chips.
The whole world can just thank Cyprus for creating this cheese in ancient times and just giving it to us now.
My Lord. So yeah, we got off on a tangent about halloumi. I don't even know.
Sorry, I love talking about food. You're right. Keep me on track. Whoa.
So, obviously, the type of cuisine that you have is Caribbean inspired. But like with that, being a Black, being an ethnic person, we don't tend to normally go towards the meatless options. Do you guys have like vegan, vegetarian as well, or is it, well, obviously,
yeah, of course, of course. So, for anyone to ignore the meatless, plant-based, vegan diet within the Caribbean region is to completely ignore a whole culture that has existed for a very long time that is plant-based. The Rastafarian diet is known as Ital. You'll often hear Rastas say Ital is vital. It's a plant-based way of living. And so the Rastafarian diet is inherently vegan. And we have our most popular dish is actually a Trinidadian recipe, so shout out Trinidad. It's a Trinidadian chickpea coconut curry.
Ooh.
Vegans and non-vegans alike love this dish. I mean, often you can mix and match the kind of things you want at our street food stores. So often meat eaters will get the jerk chicken and they'll then add the coconut chickpea curry just because it bangs. It bangs. But to ignore vegan options would be to do a disservice to Caribbean cuisine as a whole. It's an important part of the culture and one of the best experiences I've ever had was when I was back in Jamaica. I go back as often as possible to both Jamaica and St. Vincent. But when I went to Jamaica a few years ago, I did a hike in the mountains with the Rastas, and we literally picked ingredients as we were walking up the hills and the mountains, like fresh, and everything we picked made its way into the meal that we made at the end.
Oh, wow.
And I'm talking like, if we picked a coconut, that coconut got pressed to make the oil. That was the oil we used to cook.
Wow.
Absolutely everything was fresh and organic from the soil that day. And it was the most incredible meal I've ever eaten in my entire life.
I can share the same sentiment. One of my best friends is Haitian. And so we went back to Haiti for like a week. And like, we joke that he's rich because he has like, they have like maids and stuff, and they live on the bottom part of the house, which is just neither here nor there. But like, so they do have grocery stores. There's one in all of Port-au-Prince, and people go there sometimes. But the main thing is you go to a market and like you get the chicken and the veggies and the pig or whatever else from the market. So for like 7 days, everything that we had was organic because it came from a farm or something, or like, and it was sourced from that. It was the first time I had soursop. I fell in love with soursop. It's so good.
Oh, soursop is,
It's like, so I definitely, it's soursop, man. I want to go back. I miss Haiti so much, and I had a blast. So like, definitely, I the connection to food is like a real thing. How is it being, one, a woman, and two, Black, starting a business in the UK? Like, was it hard? Is it like, what's the process for that? Because you do have, it's a food stand, so it's not a brick and mortar restaurant. So like, how do we work that?
Yeah, I mean, there's pretty low barriers to entry to start a business like that. I'd say the capital outlay to start was about £5,000, which in terms of starting a business is accessible.
Yes.
I don't know how it would be, although the exchange rate is changing all the time. So yeah, that's 5,000 British pounds.
Yeah.
The barriers to entry of that particular model were particularly low. I just had to demonstrate a care for hygiene, health standards, and just, get started, really. It was definitely easier than perhaps a bricks and mortar model as the first option, which is the aspiration eventually to get to that point.
Okay.
But in respect to your question of being a female and a Black female at that, I personally haven't felt disadvantaged on my journey so far. I also appreciate I come from a place of privilege where I went to a world-renowned university. I qualified as an accountant at Deloitte, which is one of the big four, recognized around the world. I naturally have business acumen and an entrepreneurial streak. And also something that I took for granted was that with the qualification I have a, financial literacy. And I think most businesses fail, not because it's not a creative business idea or just a fantastic idea generally. It's because people do not manage the finances well. And that was something that I had, from the jump. I've got financial literacy. I understand how to run a business commercially, and not just creatively. So that has been fine. What hasn't been fine is just the natural, rigmarole and ups and downs that everyone faces of running a business. I think, no matter what you plan for, nobody plans for all the hurdles you face, and who planned, for COVID-19 as an example. Yeah. But what I did notice is I collaborated with a lot of Black females in some of my events. We host fitness brunches, we've hosted yoga brunches, we've done festivals at all Black female-led events, Black History Month events, all types of events. And it was at those specific events that I'd meet lots of Black women that had incredible creative business ideas. Okay. And not just Black women, women of color.
Yeah.
And I noticed that they had awesome ideas, but were really crippled by either fear or a lack of confidence when it came to the business, commercials, and finance side of their businesses.
Okay.
And it was at that moment I realized I'd really been taking for granted, my former training and experience and qualifications that I'd gained, because some things that I considered fairly basic were not basic or rudimentary to these other women that were awesome and had way cooler business ideas than I did,
right.
but perhaps didn't have that understanding of how to manage cash flows and just, work the commercials to their advantage.
Mm-hmm.
And that, in all honesty, was what was the genesis of my side hustle, which is Coco Financial. And that's exactly why that came about. So we host workshops and talks, just to make sure we can empower as many people that maybe don't have access to their daddy's accountant on hand, just to help give them that start when you are making a pretty scary leap of leaving a full-time job to start a business.
Right. Okay. And so like what kind of financial services do you offer as far as Coco is concerned? Yeah, so it's a range of things. Our main focus is on the workshop. So we host a workshop called Money Moves 101. It's very much an entry-level workshop. Hate to cut you off. That was literally one of the questions I was going to ask. Like, it says Money Moves right now. Like, that was so like... okay, go for it. Cool. So yeah, it's called Money Moves 101, and it's an interactive workshop, completely entry level. So, if you have a finance background and, maybe worked in finance for a couple of years, you probably don't need to come to our workshop, but we're very open and honest about what it is. It's an entry level workshop for people with either a side hustle or people who are freelancers or contractors, that want to either get onto the right foot or start on the right foot. Okay. Because, at school we get taught things like Pythagoras' theorem, like not about taxes. Yeah, like I still have yet to use Pythagoras' theorem in like real life application. Like, I feel like we should set ourselves a COVID-19 challenge and try and use it before lockdown's over. I would first have to remember what the hell it was. Brilliant. So that's our main service. But we also help with business consultations, business plan templates. We help with identifying KPIs, like things that have gone well in your business, things that haven't. We are able to sort of analyze your business and give it a financial health check, as well as some basic administrative, compliance sort of services as well. Okay, that's cool. But the main goal, like I said, is to educate and empower as many millennials as possible. But we do have a focus on women because it's me and my cousin. My cousin, she is a new mother. She's got a newborn, and we just feel like as women, we often encounter men in suits who maybe don't, represent us or understand us as well as other women might do. So we hope we can offer that to women. Are you do you have any like quarantine COVID money move gems that you want to drop right now? Like maybe like a key thing, what should people be doing? Like, Yeah, I mean, obviously, like I don't really know what the situation is like for your audience, who I presume are mainly based in the US, and I feel like your government will have different schemes than the British government have announced. So I don't know that I'd be best placed to sort of drop a particular gem that is relevant to sort of in terms of like the schemes and things that you can access. But just as a general rule of thumb, and any business should do this in any crisis, or, if you just want to streamline generally, my advice is to just have those difficult conversations with, whether it's your landlord or your suppliers, just because they're in the same boat. And at the end of the day, we all need to get through this really difficult time together. And they want you still as a client when this is over. Right. So if you can have those slightly difficult conversations around negotiating either your rates or a holiday payment, that can at least help you with reducing or pausing your outgoings.
that's going to keep you in good stead because cash is king. But what we like to say at Coco Financial is cash is queen. And if you have more outgoings than you have incomings, you're going to find yourself in a very difficult position very quickly. And in terms of getting, revenue coming in, some businesses will just find themselves have absolutely halted, and you're not going to have the revenue streams that you had perhaps projected you were going to have for 2020.
Right.
So it's about either pivoting and seeing what you can do online. I've seen some really amazing, innovative stuff. There's this rum bar that is now doing an online tasting masterclass that, they're shipping out shots, shot glasses and mini samples of rum. Like, it's about being innovative and pivoting, but making sure that the pivot is perhaps a sustainable pivot, one that even when we are in whatever the new world is going to look like after COVID-19, it's a model that can sustain. And I think that's a really exciting example of one. And then what I've personally done with the street food business, Lime Hut, is I'm very aware that people are worried about health and safety, and our market just is not back open yet. And whereas, restaurants in bricks and mortar spaces are able to pivot to doing delivery, in a way that us on the street food market can't. I thought, what am I going to do to sort of encourage income and keep my customers engaged? And so what I did was I set up a voucher scheme whereby my loyal customers and even some new ones could purchase a voucher, which obviously gave me cash flow coming in, but it's redeemable against a product or service in the future. And so by no means was it an IOU. By no means was it a handout. It was an IOU, meaning when we do resume, I have an active and engaged customer base that are ready to book me for the next, festival where they need catering or purchase our jerk halloumi wraps. It's about making sure you've got that engaged customer base, because if you don't stay engaged with your customers, when we come out of this, someone else will have taken your customers away from you.
Exactly.
You'll be starting from scratch.
Is this so? That's like so Coco and Lime Hut those are your main things, like your bread and butter. Like, that's how you do it.
Yeah, that's my bread and butter, and it's mad. They couldn't be more different. Like half the week I'm wearing my little brother's trackies and hoodie, and I'm lugging gas equipment in the rain to go sell on a market stall, and the other half of the week, I'm on my laptop in a central London office doing sort of finance related things. But variety is the spice of life, and they get me out.
Get you a woman that can do both.
Yeah.
That's what that meme comes to mind, like right there. It's like,
Yeah, I need to meme myself.
You need to do, you do. You need to take a picture of like the chef uniform and then like the business chic. Like, you gotta do that. Like, that could be your, your thing. That could be your avatar or whatever. So,
brilliant.
What is London like right now? I know when I spoke to Kadir like maybe a month ago, it was just starting. You guys' lockdown was just starting. So, like, what is it like now? Like, what's going on with the city now?
So as I mentioned, I'm back in the countryside for lockdown, but my housemate is still in London, so we're kind of just comparing. I feel very lucky to not be in London right now. I have countryside space. I don't know what the rules are for you guys. I get the impression your restrictions are less strict than ours, but
they are definitely lifting.
Sorry?
I said they are definitely lifting. Some states are starting to open back up, which is.
But I mean, even when you were like closed down, I got the impression from friends that lived there that like you were allowed to see up to 10 people in one time.
So it was during peak lockdown. It was like no more than 5 people in a gathering type of situation.
So we just aren't allowed gatherings. Like, you're not allowed with anyone who's not in your household. Okay. And when you are in your household, you're only allowed to go out with one other person from your household. So either my mother and father go out to get groceries, or me and my brother go out to get groceries. But to be honest, we're being encouraged to have groceries delivered and not go out at all. We are allowed out once a day for 1 hour for exercise, and that is the extent of it. And because it is very restrictive, I'm very blessed to have gone back to my empty nester parents, who I think are thrilled to have their adult children back home. Because being in the countryside, we've got green space. I've got a lot more space than I'd have in my central London tiny flat,
Yeah.
So you guys call them apartments, don't you?
Yeah, that sounds well. Yeah, flat apartment. Like, I'm used to hearing it, but like they're like flat. People might listen and be like, "What's a flat?" Like, yeah, no, it's an apartment.
An apartment. So I'm very grateful to be back here. I realize that I have, a nice big green garden to walk around, and if I was in my flat in London, I wouldn't have that. I do think my friends that are still in London are maybe getting cabin fever a lot more than I am at the moment. But they've been sending me photos, and it's just mad to see these streets that have millions and millions of people in every day, just
dead.
Ghost town, like huge tourist landmarks where I would avoid like the plague normally, because I just don't ever want to be around that many people. And now it looks like something out of an apocalypse movie. It really does. But we are very much, as a nation, trying to stick to the rules. I think the government have said that for the most part, they can see that as citizens we're in this for this one goal of just trying to get the virus down and out. And whilst we don't want to open up too quickly, people obviously are getting restless. But I think we're all just very mindful that we need to do this for a short term, in the short term, to have long-term prosperity, because otherwise, if we get hit by a second wave of this, it's going to affect the economy even more than it already is doing. And the truth is, people are really, really struggling.
Yeah,
like, really.
I was wondering, like, you guys have social safety nets and things that we could only dream of.
Like, so I'm fully aware that we are living in a nation that lockdown is a privilege. We're not in a country without welfare. That said, I think that access to the welfare as quickly as possible has been the issue on why people are struggling. The lockdown started in mid-March for us. It sounds like people aren't going to be able to access the funds until the end of June. So that does leave a big gap and some questions for people on how they survive in the interim. But the social security is very much there. We have a welfare system that has been ramped up in this, crisis period. But even pre this period, we've always been very lucky. We have free healthcare. That's payable through our taxes, but it's free at the point of service. Absolutely nobody would be refused healthcare for any reason. We have benefits for people that perhaps don't earn enough money or are unemployed. There's unemployment benefits that have always existed, and those haven't changed in this particular crisis period, other than obviously more people requiring the take-up of it. But yeah, we live in a welfare system that protects the most vulnerable in our society.
You said funds. Did you guys as government issue a specific type of payment or something like that?
Yeah, so not just to individuals. I think in the way that I've heard, it's been, I don't know whether to trust international headlines, I don't know, but it sounds like Trump is writing everyone a check over there. I don't know, that's what we've been
For the
told.
first time in American history, yes, that is true.
Okay.
Money was given to people across, broadly, at a certain, income cap, obviously.
Got you, of course. Yeah, so with us, it's not been like that. It's more been in a business sense. So what they've done to discourage companies from just, firing all their staff is they've given a stimulus package so that staff might be furloughed, but they can get paid up to 80% of their salary. And the government has backed that. So that's really good. And then for self-employed people like myself, it's a little more tricky. The government realized they kind of left those of us not in, employment, but self-employment out. So they added a package later, which addressed a lot of people, but a lot of people still fell through the cracks. Right. But that said, it was a fantastic offer in that it was offering up 80% of your profits per month if you were a sole trader. And then for limited companies, it wasn't as generous in respect of a grant, but they have got government-backed loans. So they have got the COVID business interruption loan. They have now also, it dropped today. Yeah, it's the 4th of May. May the 4th be with you. Yeah, there is it has dropped today. It's called the bounce back loan.
Mm-hmm.
So it's stimulus packages, but the problem is it's still debt. So not every business is going to want to take on additional debt,
Right.
but at least it's debt that's backed by the government. No loan repayments need to take place in the next 12 months, and the government is paying for the interest for the first 12 months as well.
Oh, wow.
So if you're actually really savy,
they can work this out. Yeah.
Running a business, it's actually a really cheap way to finance your next project.
Exactly.
I think the government is doing what it can within reason, but the ability to access these grants and funds in a timely manner is I think the bigger logistical issue as opposed to it being available.
Oh, wow. Like that is so much better than this country that I live in here. Jesus, this piece of shit. Anyway, but like we're not gonna go there. But there are small business loans. However, there hasn't been oversight as to where the loans have gone. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they're Burger King, Shake Shack got a loan. The Los Angeles Lakers got a loan, and it was supposed to be for small business. Like it's.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and they gave the money back, but that's the only reason why we know that they got the money is because they gave it back. It's like,
Interesting.
And it's like, yeah, our government's just fucked up. Just to put it bluntly, like it's just really just, I don't know. Like, and then the other part of it, like small business owners like yourself, the loans were made available through banks, right? So the banks are the middleman to the loan. So if you don't,
it's the same here. So some of them aren't lending, which is a problem.
Exactly. Right? And if you don't have a bank account or you've never had a loan established through a particular bank, then you don't have access to the funds available. So
I think that's the thing. No system is perfect. As much as it sounds like the UK situation is perhaps more generous and favorable than the US situation. As I said, it sounded great on paper, but in terms of the practicalities and actualities of accessing those funds, it's proving difficult for a lot of people. It's a case of we will see. I don't particularly, I'm not sitting here and saying my government has absolutely nailed it. It's more, it sounds great, but let's see whether it actually comes through in practical terms. Because another thing they were saying, and they reneged on this, I think we had to tell the banks to just pull their finger out because, quite frankly, the taxpayer bailed the banks out of the last financial crisis.
Same.
So it was the bank's turn to step up. And so when we heard that the banks were asking directors of companies to be a personal guarantor against loans, it just felt a bit shady.
Yeah.
Banks, pull your finger out.
Mm-hmm. Pull your finger out. That's.
Oh, is that a really British phrase?
Yes.
It just means just step up to the plate and get on with it.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, that was a British idiom. I'm like, okay, bring it back. Bring it back. I'm like, put my finger out over here. Like, okay, cool. Yeah, that's cool.
I don't even know why that phrase means that, but it does. So just step up to the plate and crack on with it.
How old are you? You don't mind me asking.
I'm 30.
You're 30. Wow. Okay. God, what am I doing with my life? Anyway, it's just like you got like 2 businesses, you do it, you pop it, like that's so cool. What is one thing I think you would like people to know about your city?
So I don't know ever how to answer this because I think people always want me to talk about London, but I'm not from London. I'm from a place called Reading, which is not far from London at all.
Okay.
But I've lived in London my whole adult life. So, showing my age, I just told you my age. But I've lived in London for the last 11 or 12 years. So it feels like home and it's all I've known as an adult. But as much as I love London, I love leaving London, if that makes sense at all.
Yeah.
But my favourite thing about London is just it's so easy to get to anywhere in the world. Like, you can accidentally, drunkenly stumble into King's Cross St. Pancras train station, buy a ticket, and land up in Paris in a couple hours' time.
You can. That's so weird. Like, yeah.
Like, we have trains that take you to Paris. We have trains that take you to Brussels. We have so many airports in such a small space, like
Yes.
such a small radius, like that do cheap flights to pretty much anywhere in Europe and gets us to pretty much anywhere in the world. London is, the heart of travel in the world.
It's a hub, like a
and
major
whilst it's
hub.
not the most environmental thing to be proud of, I do feel so connected to the world. Yeah. And there's just so many people from all over the world that make our city incredible. And also I just love that like everyone just like backs where they're from. So like we just have so many cultures.
Yeah.
So, you're Jamaican British or Pakistani British
yeah,
or Chinese.
yeah.
And like there's just so many cultures that make Britain what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like the version we see on American TV is always like the royal family and like really upper class.
I literally
don't exist.
just had this conversation.
Such a minority.
Yeah, no, I literally just had this conversation with somebody. I told him because I was like, London is like one of my top 3 favorite cities on the globe.
Yeah.
And he's like, really? And I was like, the view of London is like this very bleach white, staunch capital queen in the castle. And it's like when you go to London, though, it's anything but that. Like it's literally like one of the most diverse places on earth. Like it's not even like, it's just so much from everywhere. And it's like, I try to tell people, they're like, well, what about New York? And I'm like, they're similar, but they're different. Like New York would be London if it was more relaxed and cultured. I feel like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of hard you can't really compare the two, but I understand why people would make comparisons to the two. But it's like, yeah, like London is so, God, like worldly. It's so like multicultural. Like there's something for everybody.
It's so worldly. There's such a buzz in the city, like especially in summer. Like we do not have great weather for most of the year, but for that like 1 week of summer that we get a year, it's more than that. But it just feels like it. But yeah, that 1 week of summer we get a year. The vibes are just.
I have been to London in the summer is one of my faves. Everything is going on everywhere. Festivals. It's just like it's crazy. It's crazy. And you said like you've been to the States though? Like where you been over here?
Yeah, where have I been? I have been to some random places. So I've been to obvious places like New York and LA. Would you believe me if I said I once spent a summer between Utah, Arizona and Colorado? Why? Very good question. Why not?
True. I mean, I've been to Arizona and Colorado, beautiful places. I want to go to Utah.
Utah was interesting. Oh, wait, my hair looks like all the ladies in Utah. I just realized is that rude? Did I just say something
I have
rude?
no idea. I'd never been to Utah.
I noticed a lot of the ladies had like little, 10-year-old braids. Yeah, this is my quarantine chic, but that was just their look. The old ladies in Utah just rocking this hairstyle.
What'd you think when you came? How long ago was that? Like
2010 maybe.
Okay.
So yeah, like 10 years ago.
Okay.
I also have been to Vegas, so yeah, on the same trip. So like Utah, Vegas couldn't be more different. Like I found it very interesting. So this is something I find interesting with our cultures. Like Britain, it has a very boozy, alcohol-driven culture at every level. Like if you don't go out for drinks with your colleagues, it's like what? Like alcohol fuels this nation.
Okay.
It's quite insane the extent to which it does. I found it really interesting that when I was in the States, like maybe this isn't everywhere, but some of the places I went to, you couldn't just like go to the supermarket and buy alcohol and liquor. Like you have to go to like a specific liquor store. And I noticed that the liquor stores were always placed in sort of not necessarily the nicest part of town, and it just felt very purposeful and strategic in a social policy. I don't know why I'm so have I hit the nail on the head? That's literally like what I felt when I was there, and I just thought they're surely not helping alcoholism, it's fueling it.
So everything in America is based on skin color and quote unquote race. Like everything, like literally the country was built, situated, established, built upon. So it's like, you get like these things in the not so great areas, which have literally had all of the resources taken out of them except for that. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's like, it's always funny to me. Like, I love to ask people from other countries what they think of here, especially if they've been around, because like you guys literally usually hit the nail on the head. And it's like, but you don't really know that you're hitting it on the head. You just kind of see it.
Yeah, I didn't. And I think so. And here's where I feel so British. I feel like I only noticed it because we drink so much as a culture in Britain. I was just like, why can't I get like a bottle of rum in the supermarket? Like, it's normal to like buy your milk and your oranges and your, you know, your Whole Foods nuts, and then also get your liquor in this exact same store. So I just remembered being really confused by that. And then when I saw it, I was like, why is it always in
the hood,
the dodgy part of the town?
Like, why is it always in the hood? Why can't you just exactly like like no, you hit the nail on the head. Like, it has it's very I tell people this all the time. I was like, when you leave this place, especially Black people, because we are a different type of indoctrinated here. I was like, when you leave this place, you have a better understanding of your place anywhere else. And then when you come back, you can kind of like pick apart the things that don't belong, and you can kind of see all of the underlying things, and you know, you can proceed a little bit better. With the trap.
I mean, I feel like that is a lesson that anyone of sort of any background and any race can learn, because I just think to travel is to teach yourself that you and your way of life is actually not important, and is not necessarily correct. It's simply just your way. And you can always learn something from another culture and another people. It's not to say the second you get home, you don't, you know, revert back to to normal life very quickly, but you have an appreciation and an understanding that no matter where you go in the world, no matter what language they speak, what religion they have, what food they eat, most people just, you know, want to love their families and stay safe and you know, get on in life with as many freedoms as possible. And so it does give you a perspective the more you travel. And traveling while Black is always an interesting experience. But I do find when I meet African Americans, particularly abroad, the fact that they're abroad already, because I think a lot of, this isn't just African Americans, sorry, Americans generally don't have passports as much as, you know,
something
maybe
like
Europe.
60,
so when you meet Americans, you know, in Europe or in Africa or Asia or anywhere, like they're already of a minority mindset of finding out about the world outside of America. But your country is so big and it offers so much geographically that I understand why people won't leave. If you want Caribbean waters, you've got Miami. If you want skiing and, you know, mountains, you've got that. If you want outback, you've got that as well. You know, you've got city life, you've got country life. So within the walls of your country, you can have a million types of holidays and experiences without needing to leave. So I do understand where that comes from.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I met Kadir because I was in front of the park, in front of the castle or the whatever it is, Queen's Park or something.
Oh no, Queen's Park doesn't have a castle near it.
The one where
I should know this. I'm from London, and I think this is like a landmark that tourists care about, but no one in London does. Buckingham Palace.
Thank you. Yes, I was in front of
Palace near Hyde Park. I got there.
Yes, that's where I was, and I was sitting down on a wall, and like, and like I had on a shirt. I had on a black and a broad shirt. Shout out to my boy Ken Johnson. But I had on a black and a broad shirt, and like they were taking pictures, and I started talking, and it was him and his other friend. I can't think of her name right now, but she's gorgeous and a funny girl. I opened
There's loads like that in London.
Yeah, no, you right. You're right. I opened my mouth, and they just was like, "Wait, what? What? You're from the States?" And I was like, "Yeah." They were like, and mind you, this is like 5 or 6 years ago, before like more of us started to travel abroad. But like, they'd be like, "Whoa, what are you doing here?" And I'm like, well, "Living. Should I not be here?" Like, and they're like, "No, it's just so strange to see like that accent on a Black face. Like, we don't see it. You don't get it that much, especially like I said, 5, 6 years ago. Yeah, like no, that wasn't a huge thing. And so like again, the traveling while Black thing is very like, you know, it's you know, especially if I'm in a country that there are very few of us. It's like, hey you, come here, you. Yeah, it's that type
One
of situation.
of the best abroad experiences I had was I actually used to work out in Central Africa.
Okay.
I used to work out in the Congo and the DRC, which was very interesting experiences in itself. And even though I wasn't from there and, they speak French and like it's a completely different culture, I was just like, I am working in a corporate environment and I'm an ethnic majority.
Yes.
And it was like,
yes.
Yeah. And it was like, wow. And like, they just didn't care at all. And they just didn't think of me like as one of them at all. But I was just out here like, yes, I am working out on the continent with my brothers and my sisters. It was an interesting experience.
Yes, yeah, it's like it's a dope feeling. It's a dope feeling. I got that feeling when I went to Africa. I was like, oh my god, like everybody's black. Like this is so cool. Like the things that like are cool. Like I don't have to worry about hair. Like I can come to work with a fro. Like it's.
I know.
It's just like it's. It's a thing, man. It's a thing. Oh man, so
yeah. No, I know. There's a really interesting business leader who's based in South Africa. I think he's from Cameroon though. And he always drops knowledge bombs. And he says the goal should be to Africanize Africa, so much so that in the corporate world, you go into an office meeting and expect to see everyone in dashikis, not in suits. And I'm just like, yes, it should be like that. So it's not like that yet, but it really should be.
It's getting there though. So.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. That's this connection. So like last question. It's probably fun question and then last question.
Okay.
So being that you are both Jamaican and Vincentian, peas and rice or rice and peas?
Rice and peas.
I don't have a strong dog in that fight, but something feels like that was the wrong answer. It's
not the wrong answer. Like, not only am I from the Caribbean, one of my main jobs is serving Caribbean food.
No, that's like when I lived in Miami, and I went to school about a bunch of West Indians. Like that was the funny, comical debate: peas and rice, or rice and peas.
Rice and peas.
People are gonna, I don't know. I'm gonna let them chime in on that. I have no dog in that fight. But I just figured it'd be funny to ask. And then the last question I think is, during these troubling times, you're at home with family, but
yeah.
Quarantine Bay or Corona Boo? Any one of those?
Quarantine Bay or I haven't heard Corona Boo. Everyone's talking about Quarantine Bay.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are just really bored. So I think, boredom can easily lead to Quarantine Bay. However, for people that are, not looking for an online Quarantine Bay, but are actually shackled up with their real bay, I honestly think there is going to be a massive baby boom.
Yes, this is the next baby boom. This is the next baby boom.
And I think there's going to be a whole generation of kids called the Coronials.
Yeah.
It's going to be a baby boom.
This is the thing. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how you artfully dodge a question. So that... And so with that being said, Fee, thank you so much for jumping on the call and talking to me.
All good. Thank you so much for having me on the platform. Take care, stay safe, and stay accessible in these times.
Yes, you heard the lady. And yeah, bye.
That's it, guys. Thanks for listening. You can follow us on the Instagrams at the OVT Network. And you can follow me, JC, at JC from the OVT. Very simple, right? This podcast is available on Apple, Spotify, Anchor, and pretty much everywhere in between. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, and rate us 5 stars if you were so inclined. Thank you. Quarantine Talks is a podcast that is also available on YouTube. Just type in the OVT Network and hit subscribe for all of the latest and greatest from we at the OVT. Lastly, we are an independent and Black-owned media network, guys. So if you enjoyed the content and you would like to drop a donation, you may do so on Cash App or the Venmo at the OVT Network. All one word, the OVT Network. Quarantine Talks is edited and produced by me, JC, with original music produced by Brian Haddon. Thanks so much for listening, guys. Stay safe, stay creative, and most importantly, stay sane. Find your peace, man. It's crazy out here. Laters.